Welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today we're going to install a 24 kW Generac generator, model 7210, and this thing weighs 510 pounds, and I was lucky that I had the TOOLCAT. I just went and changed the snow plow to the forks and was able to unload it out of the back of my pickup truck. The next thing I did was, in order to get it down this little side mountain, I used my winch off the front of my truck and slowly slid it down the mountain. Once I got it in the spot that I wanted, I checked to make sure it was pretty level there, and I checked my local codes for the distance away from the house, distance away from windows, distance away from the gas meter, and in my particular case, they say 3 feet away from the gas meter, and I put it 4 feet away from the gas meter and 5 feet away from the house and 5 feet away from these windows. These windows I never open anyway, so it's not really critical, but I think if you had it too close to a window you were opening all the time, there would be concern if you were running it for the exhaust to, carbon monoxide from this unit. But in my case, this was a perfect little spot. It was close to the electrical and close to the gas meter. It's a natural gas generator. It can run on LP also, but in my case I have natural gas up here in the mountains, and I'm lucky for that. So yeah, I'm checking all the dimensions away from the house, away from the meter. I was going to put it on a nice pad, but the pads weren't available right now because of the COVID thing going on. Parts are hard to get, and so I decided just to go ahead and install this in the gravel. Now the reason I'm doing this right away right now is I have a big storm coming in 2 days. And the storm's supposed to snow for like 7 or 8 straight days. And knowing what I know about the power lines down below my mountain, up where my house is, the power lines are all underground, but a couple blocks down the hill they go to being overhead lines. And what happens is the snow, it collects on those lines and gets heavy, and then sometimes you will lose a pole or something, and then it knocks out my power. So I didn't really want to go through the power loss thing again. It was out for like 12 hours before, and I thought this is the time I'm going to have to go ahead and bite the bullet and put in a generator. And I chose the Generac mainly because it was the one that was available, and it did have a few good reviews. There's a couple guys on YouTube that I've watched, and as long as you take care of the maintenance and stuff on these things, some of the biggest problems people have is they forget to, maintain their battery. You need to put a new battery in every couple of years. You need to change the oil, probably every year, change the oil and check your spark plugs, and, just do the general maintenance that goes with having a generator. Now right here, I'm going to open it up and see what I need to do to install this. Now it takes some pretty big wires coming from this unit. So I'm going to run an 1.5 inch main conduit, and then I'm also going to run another 1 inch conduit for the smaller wires. So I'm going to run two conduits over to this panel. Right here I'm just inspecting it all, making sure it's looking good, it's all nice and clean and ready to go, and checking the oil, see if it came with oil, and it did come with oil. And in a cold climate it kind of recommends 5W30. Now remember, this video is entertainment purposes only. Consult your electrician for electrical work and consult your plumbing contractor for plumbing work. But you can do this yourself if you have a few little skills. And I did almost everything myself. I did decide to I have an electrician friend that lives just down the street. I did decide to hire him to do the main hookup on the panel after I got all the hard work out of the way, and then I had him do the main hookup and just do a once over, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. It did come with a stainless steel flexible gas line. That's basically the only part it came with. It didn't come with the battery, but it did come with this flexible stainless line, and it looked pretty good. So the idea was I was going to run a steel nipple out the back and then hook up a ball valve with this stainless steel flex line. The first thing I needed to do was install a T to go to the generator. and I'm going to run a 3/4 inch line, and I'm going to come right off of this main. And basically the main right here has 2 unions on it, so I can take the top union and the bottom union off or disconnect it, and then I'll be able to basically spin this, take this off, and I'm going to take that 90 off and put a T right there. Remember to consult a licensed plumbing contractor. I was a licensed plumber for a long time, along with being a general contractor. So this is something, my father and my grandfather were plumbers, and I grew up doing it. So it was pretty easy for me. Now I use, what I use on gas pipe is I use Teflon tape, and then I also use this green Keytite. And you rarely have any leaks with that. And then also, you know, after you're done, make sure that you go ahead and pressure test and get your inspection. And also you can do soap test. Right here I'm taking that 90 off, and this is where the T is going to go on. The nice thing about running your generator on natural gas is as long as you don't have an earthquake and lose that natural gas line, you know, your fuel problems, you're never without fuel. And I thought that was a good way to go for me, since I had natural gas. Right here you can see I'm using the Teflon tape on the outside, going clockwise, and then I'm gonna put this Keytite. I don't even know if they sell Keytite anymore. I've been retired for a few years, so I had this Keytite. Now once I'm done with all these gas lines, I'm gonna paint all this pipe with some Rust-Oleum to keep it from rusting outside. And I think I'm gonna paint that gas meter also. See if I can protect it from the weather for a little while. Right there I'm using a 24-inch aluminum pipe wrench that I've had forever. Get that thing nice and straight. Next up, I run the rest of the 3/4 line over to the generator. So I'm going over and down and over to the generator. And I put a ball valve on the main right there, and I put a ball valve also on the generator itself. And right there I'm using Teflon tape and Keytite. I decided to run some galvanized pipe from the main over to the generator, and that'll help a little bit with corrosion and stuff in the future. And then I'll also probably prime it and paint it. Once I was done with the gas line, it was time to start on the electrical. And the first thing I needed to do was mount the switch up on the wall next to my panel. And the first mistake I made was up on the panel, so I had 2 outlets on the side. The first thing I needed to do was take those off of there, because I needed to mount this Generac automatic switch on the side of this panel. So I needed to take these outlets off, get rid of them, and I needed to put a sleeve between the Generac panel and my main panel. And the first mistake I made was I actually ran a 2-inch sleeve, and mainly I was looking for a 2.5 inch, but the parts, Home Depot had no 2.5 inch. Matter of fact, they were really low on parts on their shelves, and I guess that's because of the whole supply chain right now. The main panel had a knockout on the bottom, so I was able to knock that one out and then mount my sleeve fitting that I was going to put in here, which was basically a male adapter and a nut. I probably could have used a better fitting on that was a little more watertight, but Home Depot was really low on parts, and that's just what I had. So right there you can see that's a 2-inch male adapter that I have in there, and I'm going to actually seal that up a little better when I'm done. But what I realized after talking to the electrician is I need to add another 2-inch sleeve above that, so that I can have more room to pull wires through there, because the amount of wires that you have to pull through that sleeve would not fit through just a 2-inch. So I eventually needed to add another one in there. Right here you can see me drilling the hole for the first sleeve. And at first I thought I could get away with just that 2-inch, but I ended up having to take this panel down, and I added another 2-inch sleeve to be able to run all these wires in there. Now instead of buying a whole piece of pipe to sleeve this, I just bought a 16th bend and cut a little piece off of it. It was a lot cheaper than buying a whole stick of pipe, and they probably don't recommend that, but it seemed to work good. Now I'm using a glue that's actually a cold weather electrical glue. It's a clear glue, but it's made for cold weather. Always remember, this video is for entertainment purposes only, and you should always use a licensed contractor, licensed plumber, whatever your local codes require. Once I was ready to go, it was time to mount this panel up on the wall. It's a little awkward by yourself, but I was able to do it. Right here I'm going to use some hex lags and screw this thing to my wall. Try to get it as straight as possible. And there it is mounted up on the wall. Now of course I ended up pulling this back down and putting another sleeve so I could get more wires through there. Right here I drilled the first hole, which is the 1.5 inch, and I'm using a liquid tight to go from this switch over to my generator. And there's going to be two lines. There's going to be this 1.5 inch line, which will have the main generator wires, and then also it will have another 1 inch line that I'll run some smaller wires through. Now for some reason on the generator, this particular hole must have been 1.25 inches, and I had 1.5 inches, so I had to do a little modification on that hole. Right here I just drilled the hole a little bigger and we were in business. Next up I test fit this liquid tight 90 just to see where to cut this 1.5 inches. Right here I'm going to use a small cordless Milwaukee Sawzall, and it comes in pretty handy for small stuff. Next up, it was time to run the wire through here. Now I was going to leave the 90 unconnected and get this wire through this liquid tight first and figure out the length and run all my wires. Now I'm going to color code these wires. One of them is going to be a common, so I'm going to use white tape for that one and tape both ends. And then because the generator has it has a N1 and N2 hookup, I'm going to color code one of those blue so I know which one's which. And then I'm also going to run a ground through here. So I got two hots, a ground, and a neutral. Full disclaimer, use a licensed electrician anytime you're doing this kind of work. Obviously I'm comfortable with it, but I did hire my electrician to come back and check everything. Right here I'm running a number 6 solid ground that's going to go from this switch over to the generator. Once I get the ground all tightened down and looking good, I proceed to hook up the generator wires, and you'll see right here I actually hook them up in the wrong spot, and I ended up changing that. There's 4 lugs under here, and 2 of them go to the generator, and then 2 of them are the actual feed from your meter. So it's good to always double check all your stuff. And again, use a licensed contractor or licensed electrician, and yeah, you'll be fine. That one right there is the neutral, which I have taped white. I get a couple zip ties and kind of keep it cleaned up in there. The whole time I'm doing this, there's like 5 deer that are watching me, wondering what the hell I'm doing. It's crazy how many deer and turkey are around my area right now, especially when there's snow on the ground. You would think they'd go down to some warmer climate. Right here I get all the wires ready to go, and I'm going to get this 90 fed on there and then installed on the generator. Right here I get the 90 mounted and get it screwed on there tight, and then I proceed to hook up all these wires. First up was the ground. Next up I check the wires on the switch, make sure they're going to the same one. And next up I install the common. And these are number 6 copper, which will handle about 100 amps, and really that's all this generator puts out. So in an emergency, when this is on, you know, my refrigerator, freezer, my lights, I can use all that stuff. You wouldn't want to try to use an oven or anything like that, you know, just because you only have 100 amps here. Right there you can see that panel all hooked up, and you can see the 2-inch sleeve down at the bottom, and I'm going to have to add another one before this is all over to hook this up to the main panel. Right here I'm changing my hole saw bit. I'm going to run another line, and this other line is going to be basically low voltage wire. There's about 8 different color-coded wires that need to hook up from the switch over to the generator, and they do different things. Some of them, one of them is a trickle charger for the battery, and then other ones are different communication things that tell the generator to turn on or turn off. And I thought this spot was pretty good because I want to zip tie both these liquid tight wires together going over to the generator, so I kind of put this one pretty close to it. And this is a 1-inch liquid tight 50 fitting that I'm putting on the bottom of this. Right there I mount the 1-inch liquid tight fitting and install the 1-inch liquid tight. Once that's all tight, it was time to run these low voltage wires through this liquid tight. And I bought a 10, basically I needed 8, but I got a 10 wires to go over here. Basically it was sprinkler wire, and it worked fine. Right here I get it cut and get the hole saw and make sure it's the right size hole, and then I proceed to put this 90 on. Look at these deer staring at me. They were just staring at me the whole time, wondering what I was doing. Once I get the 90 on and get this wire through here, I strip it off and I basically use the color-coded wire to connect these 8 connections. And there's 8 different connections, and if you just put them colored, they're colored actually. So you can use the wire and basically you can see right there you got some yellow ones, some blue ones, some red ones, some white ones, some black ones. So the majority of them you can use your color-coded wire, and it's pretty easy. Right here you can see I get them stripped off, and it's out of focus right there, but and my hat's in the way. Right here I got the red one. It's going to go over here to that red. Each one means something. Obviously this video is for entertainment purposes only. I can't emphasize that enough, so consult your electrician or plumber. Right there you can see I get all that wired up, and then I go over to the panel and I do the same thing over the panel. And all this was pretty easy. You have it's all self-explanatory. You basically just make sure that the wires that are going from here are going to the same spot on the other side. And I kind of clean this up a little bit, and I try to make all my wires look kind of neat and tidy. Right there I got all those wires hooked up, and it was time to add another sleeve. Right here I'm checking over the unit, and I'm checking the oil and basically make sure that I don't need to get any more parts that didn't come with this unit. Now this unit did not come with a battery, and so I went online and I ordered a battery that said it was for a Generac generator, but it turned out it wasn't, and Amazon would not return it. So be careful when you're ordering batteries. They don't seem to be returnable. So I ended up going down to my Napa store and getting the right size battery, and everything worked fine. Here you can see me putting in the Napa battery, and I just measured the size of the platform under there, and this one fit in really nicely. Look at those turkey up in the left corner up there. I don't know what they're doing up there. They started gobbling. A lot of these turkeys were going crazy on this day. They found something up there they like. Here, look at these deer. These deer are only about 15 feet away from me, and these turkeys watching me the whole time I was installing this. Right here I get it buttoned up. I basically check everything, put the side panel back on. It's got 2 screws on the top here and then 1 on the side. Look at that turkey right there. It's good to double check everything. There is a procedure for getting these things turned on too. You have to go online, and there's a little bit of a procedure for that. And actually it confused me a little bit in the beginning. But right here I started up and kind of check out how it runs and put the bottom skirt on, and she was ready to go. Once all this was done, I actually went ahead and shut my power off to my house, and about 5 seconds later this thing fired up on auto and it worked perfectly. Now I left out the wiring of the switch to the main panel because I think that's something that, you know, an electrician should do, and I didn't want to. This video is for entertainment only, so I kind of left that out. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and hopefully we don't lose power, but if we do, we'll be ready. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Bye.